Hi, everybody. Welcome back to day 4 of remote learning. We got this. We're almost done with the week. All right. We've talked about for the last couple of days multi-dimensional arrays in Java. All right. And now that we have somewhat of a concept of what those are, we're going to apply that concept in our gradebook class. Well, we've already done this, so we're just going to now improve upon it. All right, and you'll see it says part 1 over there. This is going to be a little bit of a long one, so I'm going to break this down into 3 parts. And yeah, let's get right into it. All right, so before we do any actual discussion about the assignment, real quick, just getting this out of the way, please make sure that you have filled out the Google attendance form. It's linked right here. Please just do it. It makes my life so much easier when you do the things you're supposed to do. Also, if you haven't joined the Discord channel, the Discord server yet, please just go to this link, create an account, or if you have an account, great, get into it. And our moderators will get you set up, or I'll get you set up depending on the time of day that you join. And just please do that. Please. Please. By next week, I'd like to start having some sort of voice chat with each of my classes, and you don't want to miss out on that. So please do that. Okay, so we're going to break this down into 3 parts. The part we're doing today, we're going to talk about our student class that we're using in our gradebook. Because instead of an array of nameless grades, we're actually going to have an array of students that have the grades that we're going to be using in our gradebook. We're going to have, in the next part, the gradebook class that we define. We're going to do that tomorrow. And then on Monday, we're going to actually use the student and gradebook classes to create a nice and efficient program. All right, but today let's talk about student. And you'll see there's already a bunch of stuff in here. Mrs. Sands, what gives? Uh, we've already written this class pretty robustly. There are a few changes that I've made that I want to discuss today, but I'm not going to have you guys rewrite something you've already written. And I could even just say, go back and copy and paste a bunch of stuff, but I could do that for you. So here you go. You're welcome. All right, so let's talk about the new things. First thing you'll see right up here, import java.util.arrays. This brings in the array class and all of its methods from the java.util library, and we're going to use that for the purpose of copying arrays. The reason we need this class is there are some memory issues with copying arrays and using arrays as parameters like we do in several locations in this student class. And this arrays class has methods that allow us to circumvent those memory issues. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of those memory issues today because that's actually an entire unit that we have much later. But we do want to address them in our code so that we have something that is robust. Uh, all right, so let's talk about this class. We have these 3 member variables, first name, last name, and this double array of grades. All right, all good so far. Nothing we really need to comment on there. Default constructor. All right, by default, we're going to set first name and last name to John and Doe respectively. For grades, we're going to set that equal to a new double array of size 10. Now, we can't just do something like this. We can't say like grades is equal to 100, 100, 100, 100, because this is shorthanded syntax, and this can only be done uh, the first time that this grades array variable is declared. So any other time you have to do the long way around. So that's why we're setting grades equal to a new double array of size 10. But we're going to assume that John Doe is a good student. So if we just said grades equals new double array of size 10, all of the grades are going to start off as 0, the default double value. So instead, what we're going to do is we're just going to loop through this array by saying for for I starting at 0, for every I that's less than grades.length, I plus plus, set grades at index I equal to 100. All right, so that'll set all 10 grades to 100. Hopefully you don't have any questions on that. If you do, throw that question in the Discord. All right, parameterized constructor. We have these three parameters, fn, ln, which are both strings, and g, which is a double array. Now the user can provide us these arguments, and whatever argument they provide for fn, we're going to set our first name to that. Whatever argument they provide for ln, we'll set our last name to that. And whatever argument they provide for g. Now this is where things get a little dicey. If you provide an array as an argument to a parameter, you are not copying that array and giving it to the method to do whatever it's going to do. You are actually just giving a reference to that array, which then allows this method to mess with that array that might be anywhere else in someone else's code. I could be messing using this function. I could be messing with an array that exists in main.java. All right, and again, that's just a memory issue that we will be talking about later on. We don't want that to be happening. We want whatever array we're using for our students' grades to be theirs and theirs alone, and to have no outside link anywhere else. So that's why we're going to be using arrays.copyOf. And the way this method works is we tell it what the source array is that we want to copy from, and how many elements we want to copy from that array. So I want to copy whatever array they gave me for G. I want to copy its elements, and I want to copy all of them. So I'll put in g.length. All right. You're going to be seeing this function 2 more times in the accessors and mutators. So now we go to the accessors, get first name, get last name. We've done this before. All we're doing is returning the first and last name value. For get grades, what we're going to do is, again, we don't want anyone outside to have a reference to our array in our class. So we're going to say return arrays.copyOf, and what we want to copy is our grades array, and we want to copy all of the elements. So we'll say grades.length. Then this getGrade accessor takes an integer index as an argument. It says that it throws an index out of bounds exception, and that's just going to be an exception we put out there if the user gives us a bad index. And what makes a good index is if it is between 0 and the length of our array. And if it's not one of those, we're just going to throw that error. If it is one of those, we'll tell them what grade is at the index that they provided us. The mutators, again, the first two are pretty simple. We just say, hey, give us a string argument for first name or last name, and then set first name or last name to whatever argument they provided. All right, strings are pretty easy there. For this set grades, we say, all right, give us a double array argument. We don't want an outside link, so we're just going to say grades is equal to arrays.copyOf. We'll give them the source array and the amount of elements we want. And set grade is very similar to the set grade that we had in our old gradebook class. We ask them for an integer index and a double value. If the index is good, we'll say, all right, set our array at that index to whatever value they gave us. And if it's bad, tell them that it's bad. Tell them that's an invalid index. All right, and then lastly, we have this display function that says, hey, print out the first name, print out the last name, print out the grades, which we have this for loop that just goes through our grades array and says, all right, print out grade 0, and then when it loops, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and, it goes 0 through 9 in the default, so I'll just stop there. And here it says, well, if it's not, or sorry, rather, if your I is less than grades.length minus 1, which means if it's less than that last index, throw a comma on the end, because that means we have another grade that we want to print, and this will just put commas in between all of them. And then lastly, we end it with a curly bracket. All right, so that's the student class that we have. If you have any questions about it, please throw those in the Discord in period 2 or 4, depending on what period you're in, or in the hashtag help section if you're desperate or new and you haven't been assigned a period text channel. Here's the skinny. You guys got through these 10 minutes. We're not writing anything in the student class. But you're not off the hook. All right. We are going to just be, now that we understand the student class, we are just going to test it out real quick in the main. Then we'll call it a day. All right. So let's do that. We're going to go into the main. And what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to create an array of grades. And we'll give it 100, 95, 85, 100, 75, 100. Sure. Just grades. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two students. The first student I'm going to call S1, and I'm just going to use the default constructor for that. So that should be John Doe with 10 grades that are all 100. And I'm going to create a second student called S2. And this one I'm going to use the parameterized constructor. And I'm going to call this person Mr. as the first name, Sans as the last name, and then I'll give it the grades array as a parameter. You can call your student to whatever you want to. Be nice. If you're rude, I'm going to get you. But, you can call your student whatever you want to. All right, and then all I want to do is I'm going to want to display their values. So first what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little header, info on student S1. And I'll actually just copy that because I'm just going to do something very similar for S2. And then all I'm going to do is say S1 dot display. In fact, let me copy this whole thing because I'm going to do the exact same thing for S2. So all I'm going to do is change that one and that one to a 2. And then let's run that, and hopefully I didn't make any big mistakes. The suspense is killer, guys. Alright, I'm going to refresh my Replit page because sometimes it gets a little wacky like that. Alright, okay. Hey, alright, it shows. So you'll see here for John Doe, we have, or for this S1, we have John Doe because we use the default constructor, and 10 grades that are all 100 because they're grade A student. All right. And then Mr. Sands, not as great a student, unfortunately, but he has these grades, which are exactly what we entered here. All right. If you have this in your main, you can submit. And tomorrow we'll talk about implementing that gradebook class. Now, that's going to be a lot less of me talking and a lot more of you writing, because if you look here, not much in there. All right, guys. Hope you had a fun lesson. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.